You know, In Living Color was a thing when I was a kid, but I didn't watch it. I wasn't allowed to watch it. So if they had a theme song, I don't know what it would be, but it would be super appropriate to use for this video. If you know the In Living Color theme song, just sing it to yourself. Just jam out. No, not a dancing channel. What's shaking, bacon? I'm Joni Simon, and this is The Bite Shot. This is a channel where I show you all about how I do food photography because you might find it helpful in doing your own food photography. Because really, what's better than photographing than food? I mean, you can't eat a mountain, you can't eat your friend, but I can eat a slice of pizza. So what we want to talk about today is color, all about color, and we are talking about white balance. So if you are a food blogger specifically, you might have submitted images to Food Gawker or Tastespotting. These are two aggregator sites that a lot of food bloggers will submit their information to and try to get it accepted to the page so that it sees more eyeballs, because as a food blogger, you want more eyeballs on your website. But when I first started submitting images to Food Gawker and to Tastespotting, one of the things that was always in the notes about why my images were not good enough and why they weren't accepted was because of the white balance. The white balance was off. And I'm like, no, the white balance is great. You suck, Food Gawker. You don't know what you're talking about. Who's in charge of those sites after all? I mean, they're just some sort of person behind a computer saying reject, reject. But white balance is ultimately, if you are looking at an image, how true are the colors to real life? So when you look at that white, how white is that white? Because a white can have a lot of blue in it, or it can have a lot of green in it, or red, or yellow. The way you're shooting your pictures, the way that the sensor in the camera is reading the information about what's in front of it can ultimately skew that white balance a little bit. So now I told you not to ride in auto mode on the other settings like aperture and ISO, and that still holds true. But I am okay with, like I have to approve it. White balance is one thing that is totally groovy for the most part when you're doing photography to shoot in auto. It's okay. Now, if you're shooting video, that's a whole other discussion, and this is not a video channel. There are plenty of other video channels, go find those. But a lot of people, for the most part, very successfully shoot in auto with their white balance. Now, real quick, before we start jumping into talking about white balance, take a second, get on your camera again, and find where the white balance is on here, okay? It should just be in your little menu of settings. It should be somewhere hopefully easy to access. That is something that always blows my mind, is sometimes how hard it is to find the settings. I do individual sessions with people teaching them how to work their camera and things like that, and I'm always shocked. I'm like, where the crap did they put this? Why did we have to hide this in like 10 different menus? So now there are a lot of cameras out there today though, a lot of the newer cameras, you can do little like hot set buttons on here. So various buttons, you can say, okay, I want this button to be where I set my white balance, things like that. So just again, spend some time with your camera, get to know where its settings are. It's really gonna help a lot. So I'll pause while you find the white balance. All right, now that you've found it, hopefully you found it, you're gonna get into your white balance menu and you're gonna see there's some various options. Now for me, when I'm shooting with my camera, I typically have it set for daylight. Now daylight, just in terms of the quality and the color of that light, it's more on the blue spectrum. So, you know, if you've ever done any photo editing and you see there's like blue versus yellow, red versus green. So daylight balanced light usually is more in the blue spectrum because we got the blue from the sky, right? It influences blue in the images. So the daylight setting in your white balance is going to accommodate for those, and it's going to pull it just a little bit warmer, so a little bit more towards the yellows, in order to balance out that blue and get more of a true white. So if we're looking at any white things in the image, they'll look more white than they would blue or yellow, things like that. You'll also see there is a shade mode. So if you are shooting in the shade, there's gonna be even more blue because of the cast of that light. So again, if you need to compensate in your images, you're like, they're looking really super blue, even though I'm shooting in daylight, throw it into shade and just see how that changes it. You might also have incandescent, you might have fluorescent white light, cool white, warm white, fluorescent daylight, flash, underwater. I'm not taking this underwater. Food photography underwater. I mean, maybe you're taking, I don't know, you're taking pictures of the sushi before it's on your plate. If you're using underwater, knock yourself out. But then there's usually also a tungsten setting. So that is if you are indoors, usually in a restaurant, and it's a really yellow orangey light, this is gonna compensate for that. So definitely play with your white balance, kind of get to know it, understand it. Again, you can write it in auto for the most part and you'll be pretty good. But if you're looking at an image and you're like, wow, that's really blue, then maybe just try the shade setting or try the cloudy setting or try the daylight and see what happens. Or if it's looking super orange, then throw it into tungsten. Just give it a try, see what happens. So this was now what, the 4th video? So we have covered aperture, shutter speed, ISO, and white balance. So now hopefully you feel a lot more in control of your camera. You feel familiar with where all of those settings are, and you can start to put them into practice. I really do. Like, I feel like at a certain point I learned these things about manual, but then I was like, oh, but it's so much easier just to throw it into auto. Don't do it. Stay in manual, push through. So if you stay tuned, what we're gonna do in the 5th and final video of this foundation series, I'm gonna show you how to put it all together, what you're looking for in your shots, and hopefully you are gonna be shooting in manual and you're gonna be super duper dangerous. That's right, dangerous. I don't have hair to whisk, but if I did, it'd be all over the place. But thank you for spending your very valuable time with me screwing off here on YouTube. And I hope you have a wonderful week. You stay out of trouble, and I'll see you soon. All right? Bye. What's shaking, bacon? I'm Joni Simon, and this is... Oh, I'm just gonna attack my face with my hand. Ah! My bangs are getting tired. My bangs been filming too long. Bangs are saying, Joni, get off this camera. Thank you, bangs. Love you too. But see, if I do them like all together, they look like a helmet. And then, oh geez, it just got helmet head. That's not cute. Gotta